So often, when talking about abortion, we hear that no one really knows when life begins. But is this true? Welcome to Womb to Tomb Apologetics, where you'll learn how to be persuasively pro-life. In this video, we'll briefly touch on what Roe v. Wade said on this question, then move on to what the science actually says, what biologists say, and what pro-choice thinkers say. Although Roe v. Wade has gone the way of the dodo, it is important to know about one of the central lies upon which it was built. In that case, the court majority said the following: "We need not resolve the difficult question of when life begins." When those trained in the respective disciplines of medicine, philosophy, and theology are unable to arrive at any consensus, the judiciary, at this point in the development of man's knowledge, is not in a position to speculate as to the answer. But where do we go to know about the beginning of life? Well, the study of life is biology, so that would be the best place to start. In fact, we don't technically need a consensus on this matter, since the study of science of life itself will tell us the answer without the need to consult a specific group of people. Scientists have found a number of unique characteristics of living things and have compiled a list of these characteristics for us. A living thing is made of cells. It grows. It maintains homeostasis. Has DNA. Metabolizes energy. Is the kind of thing that reproduces. Responds to external stimuli. And has the capacity to adapt to changes in its environment. All of these are present in humans from the moment of conception. We not only know that we are living from conception, we also know that we're distinct from our parents. We are a whole new organism, and we are human from conception, not merely potentially human, because we have all of our human DNA present at the moment we are conceived, and we develop ourselves from that point on, with no extra material needing to be added other than, of course, our food. These four things are the most important to remember. We are living. We are distinct, we are whole, and we are human from fertilization. As I said, we don't need a consensus from a particular group of people on this point, but I might as well show you what biologists themselves admit when asked the question. Steve Jacobs surveyed thousands of biologists for his PhD dissertation on the question of when life begins. He probably didn't think that his findings would strike the kind of controversy that they did, but to this day, those who identify as pro-life love pointing out the results. I have some quotes from an article he wrote on the experience called, "I asked thousands of biologists when life begins. The answer wasn't popular." He said, 96% of the 5,577 biologists who responded to me affirmed the view that a human life begins at fertilization. He said, "I emailed surveys to professors in the biology departments of over 1,000 institutions around the world. 96% of them affirmed that a human's life begins at fertilization, with 4% rejecting that view. The majority of the sample, 89%, identified as liberal, 85% pro-choice, and 63% as non-religious. In the case of Americans who expressed party preference, the majority, 92%, identified as Democrats. Unfortunately, the minority dissenters on this question sent back some rather unprofessional emails. Here are some quotes that he shares with us. "Is this a studied fund by Trump and Ku Klux Klan? Sure hope you aren't a effing Christian, 2 exclamation points. This is some stupid right to life thing. Yuck, I believe in right to choice, 7 exclamation points. The actual purpose of this survey became very clear. I will do my best to disseminate this info to make sure that none of my naive colleagues fall into this trap." For the record, this wasn't some pro-life person with an agenda. He was merely researching for his PhD dissertation to get the answer to the question of when life begins. Now, I generally don't share this survey in dialogues with other people, but I'd show it to you because I think it's illustrative of how uncontested the answer to this question is among people who are in a position to know the answer most of all. Finally, I'd like to present some famous pro-choicers who admit that the preborn are human as well. Ethicist Peter Singer agrees that, quote, "There is no doubt that from the first moments of its existence, an embryo conceived from human sperm and eggs is a human being." Philosopher David Boonin wrote in his book A Defense of Abortion, "Every human fetus is a living member of the human species, Homo sapiens. A human fetus, after all, is simply a human being at a very early stage in his or her development." Feminist Camille Paglia describes herself as, quote, "a firm supporter of abortion rights." She wrote, "I have always frankly admitted that abortion is murder, the extermination of the powerless by the powerful. Liberals, for the most part, have shrunk from facing the ethical consequences of their embrace of abortion, which results in the annihilation of concrete individuals, and not just clumps of insensate tissue." Abortion supporter and philosopher Nathan Nobis wrote, "Yes, yes, and yes. The fertilized egg isn't dead, and it's not neither dead nor alive. It's life, and you don't need to be a biologist to know that." Alan Guttmacher once wrote that fertilization is, quote, "the exact moment when a human life is initiated." Later, when he became the president of Planned Parenthood, he wrote, quote, "Fertilization, then, has taken place. A baby has been conceived," end quote. These people, however, have reasons why they believe abortion is still okay, despite knowing the life and humanity of the preborn. We'll talk about those in another video, but again, I show you this to illustrate how uncontroversial the answer to this question is. Life does indeed begin at conception.